and McCarthy at 225.
I'd like to sort it out.
Mike, just looking back at the first half, just a lot of fundamentals there, dropped passes or penalties or missed assignments. Just looking back on the tape, as I'm sure you did, were you able to make sense of that? And is there something as a coaching staff you can address as far as, I don't know, lack of focus or whatever would be the cause of that?
Well, when you start out the game and you have a fumble, you don't want to turn the football over, especially the first play of the game. Then your second series, you have an interception, and your third, you have a safety. You put a lot of pressure on your defense right away. They got a lot of momentum going. They did a good job controlling the tempo of the game, especially in that first quarter. But, they didn't score any touchdowns until that 7th and 8th drive, and I think they had like 40 plays before they actually put the ball in the end zone for a sustained drive. So, we did some poor things there in that first half. I thought we rallied back in the second half, made a few adjustments defensively. I think we adjusted our unbalanced set a lot better in the second half than we did in the first half. We had some misalignments and missed tackles. Well, I was pleased coming in the second half after that first turnover that we were able to put some drives and get some touchdowns.
Mike, some of the guys said last night that they felt pretty well prepared going into that game. It was just a matter of execution. But some of the other guys said that maybe it wasn't necessarily the best preparation. Maybe there were some things the Eagles did that caught them off guard. Where do you fall on that now, looking back on what they did versus what you saw?
Which side of the ball?
With the Eagles' offense, on defense.
Their offense? Yeah. There's only one play that we saw that we hadn't practiced against. So from that standpoint, I felt pretty good about that. Only one play they ran offensively that was a surprise to me that I hadn't seen before on tape. We had a couple misalignments with their unbalanced set, so always put the responsibility on that on coaches, not on players. They had a few missed tackles. That has a lot to do with McCoy and Vic and a couple of their great athletes they do have. But, we did adjust. We did make some adjustments, and I was pleased with the way we came back in the second half, even though we fell short.
Mike, whose performance were you most surprised by, either pleasantly or unpleasantly?
Well, like I just said, anytime you go into halftime and you're down by a number of points, you want to see what your football team's made of, and we put ourselves in position to win the game. I was disappointed in that 4th and 10. We were getting that ball off. We jumped off sides, but that would have been a touchdown if we got that ball off in time. So you look at those type of opportunities, and when you fall a little bit short and you got a chance to still find a way to win the game, and you don't, you're disappointed.
Is there one specific, though, that you saw in the performance-wise that you were happy with or maybe unhappy? Someone specifically?
Yeah, I don't want to, just point at any one person out, but anytime you're able to go 3 touchdowns in 4 series, you feel pretty good about the offense because it takes everybody to get the ball in the end zone. 1 or 2 people make a mistake, and all of a sudden it's like that first half, a lot of 3 plays and out, or a turnover.
What did you think of Robert's play after watching the film?
I think offensively as a group, we were pretty average in the first half. It's not one person, it's everybody, as I shared with you yesterday. I don't critique players through the media, but it takes a unit to do things that we have done a year ago and things that we did in the second half. We played one of our poor first halves with turnovers and mistakes, and we'll get better.
Was there a point, though, that you felt like he had started to settle in, that he had his rhythm, where you saw him and said, that kind of looks like the guy that I remembered seeing?
Like I said, I don't critique players through the media. I critique a unit, and offensively we didn't do the things that we normally do as a group.
One of the things, actually, Pierre Garçon had talked about after the game, that he felt there were some things from their defense that that you guys either hadn't seen or maybe prepared for. How hard was it to prepare for that defense? Considering a lot of talk about Chip's offense, this was a new defensive system too.
I'll be honest with you. Like I said before, you kind of go back and you take a look at what people have done in the past. And we went back to Arizona. We went back to different places Bill has been, and they just play a sound defense. They're not very complicated. Different things that we've gone against all preseason. The only thing they did is probably had a little corner fires with a tight split, and we had practiced that throughout the preseason. So what I did think they did is they executed well, especially in that first half.
They had a couple blitzes blitzes that got through the middle, were those just good execution, or were there some things that you guys could have handled better with that?
No, it's different things that we practice through the week. Any team can overload people in the middle, and you got to throw hot, and sometimes you get a perfect protection if you got the right play called. But, I was pleased with what we practiced during the week, and what we practiced during the week, at least from the blitz standpoint, is what we saw. Like I said, very similar to what they've done in the past.
Sorry. Coach, what went into the decision to start EJ at safety? He said he'd never played safety before, and obviously you guys had two safeties up that didn't play a whole lot at that position.
Well, anytime you play a nickel back, you could be a nickel, you can be a dime. They're interchangeable. We thought with what they did defensively and what they did offensively, we could take advantage of his speed out there, especially with the injuries that we had seen during the preseason.
Mike, did you think during the week that you would have Meriweather? And at this point, what's sort of your level of frustration with his availability, given that it's been sort of one thing after another over going to a second season now?
Well, you're always disappointed when you've got a football player that you think's going to be ready, and all of a sudden he's not. I was really pleased with Brandon going in the last preseason game. He lasted half, and then all of a sudden on that Monday he strains his groin. So that's always disappointing. So, I'm hoping this week he'll be ready to go. I know he's ready to go. He's been working extremely hard to put himself in position to play well. I'm just hoping this week he will be ready.
Mike, we already got an update from Ryan Kerrigan on his situation. Did you guys suffer any other injuries, any other
I don't think
help?
there's any other injuries that will keep anybody out. A couple guys banged up, that's about it.
Mike, Leonard Hankerson, obviously, with the 2 touchdowns last night. What are the ways that he has improved? Because everybody talks about him and the inconsistent hands, but what are the other ways that he's improved in your eyes over the time you've had him?
Well, I think he needs some playing time, like we talked about before. He's got to have some consistency like he did last night to make those plays. So he did a great job in that red zone, running an excellent route. Where a lot of people don't see is the routes that he's running where he doesn't get the ball and he's open. That's what you're impressed with. So it's just not the ones he catches, it's what he does when he's not hit. That if the quarterback would have looked that way, he would have been open. So that's what's positive about Hank.
With Kerrigan, will he have to miss a practice at all, or is he full cleared to go tomorrow?
He was cleared to go today.
Talking about some of those mistakes from the first half, is any part of that just the lack of preseason preparation, scaling back on what guys can do, and obviously you had some guys unavailable that you would anticipate that being different if it were, say, the week 2 or week 3 game?
Well, you just got to go through those mistakes. If you take a look at the first play and you take a look at the fumble, Alfred Morris gets hit all the time in practice. It wraps up. We work on turnovers, and it's very unusual for him to have that type of mistake. Interceptions are going to occur. Every once in a while, you're hoping to eliminate those mistakes. That's why you try to put that quarterback through as many repetitions as you can versus different coverages where things become automatic for him. You take the toss on the goal line, and all of a sudden it, winds up being a save. Those are things you have to play through. And that's why I was kind of pleased with our football team. I thought we were playing through. We made a lot of mistakes in that first half, and we still had a chance to come back and at least make it a game. So those are the things we're going to be working on this week.
Mike, Jordan Reed got involved pretty heavily second, third quarter. What did you think of his performance?
I thought, Jordan for the first game really took advantage of his opportunities when he was in there, both in the running game and the passing game.
What was your take on the running game?
What running game?
Yours.
I think I answered that question.
Right, thank you. Why is that your take on the running game?
Well, first of all, you fall behind. Anytime you have 21 plays in the first half, that's not a lot of plays. We play like we did in the second half, then you got a chance to put up some pretty good numbers. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to win, and I think we had 75 yards and 3 first downs in the first half, and that's not going to do it. We all know that, and we just talked about why we did that. So I was pleased with the way we came back, the way we came out. We did some good things, except for that first turnover, and we fell a little bit short.
It was Chris's first chance as a return man on kicks and punts. Mm-hmm. With him debuting and with his lack of experience, is it dictated to him based on where he catches it in the end zone to come out or not, or are those decisions all his? You just
no, that's what you work on. Working on all the time, where you catch it, hang time, how many yards deep are you going forward. Same thing on punt returns. we don't work very often on catching the ball on the 3-yard line. But as young guys, sometimes you line up on a 10 and you don't realize you drift back there. I was pleased, though, he had the guts to go back there and at least catch it, with a lot of people around him. So even though that's a negative, it's a positive that his concentration level was there, and we're just going to have to put him through some more reps so he doesn't catch the ball inside the 10-yard line.
Coach, curious if you've gotten any feedback from Robert in terms of how he's feeling a day after his first contact in 8 months.
I haven't had a chance to talk to Robert today. We graded the film and looked at it as a coaching staff, and when you're a day short, you're on to Green Bay, and they got an extra day on us, so that's what we've been doing.
Kai Forbath, most, if not all, of his kickoffs went either through the end zone, deep in the end zone. Is that something that, just over the summer consistently worked on? Did he see a kicking guru? Because that's certainly a contrast from last year.
No, he explained to me exactly what he did, and I was really impressed because this guy's a very bright young man. He worked extremely hard in the offseason to increase his distance on kickoffs, and you can see what the difference is. Yeah, he's been working at it, and obviously it's helped him, and it's going to help our coverage team out. And he can explain that to you. I'm not smart enough to figure that one out. Anything else? Okay, thanks.